Welcome to our channel. Hi there, my name is Ranjan. I am a full stack DevOps engineer with 11.5 years of experience working in IT. I am also a 4.5 star rated Udemy instructor teaching more than 72,000 students worldwide. On this channel, my goal is to make you learn and grow by sharing my experience. So if you like my work, then do like this video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe this channel for more such awesome videos in future. So let's get started. Thank you. So in order to do the environment setup, first go to your browser and type IntelliJ download. As soon as you do this, go to the first link, click on this, and you will end up in this screen. So you will see two options. If you are using a Windows, click on Windows. If you are using a Mac, click on Mac or Linux. But as I am using Windows, I will click on Windows and I will click on this download button. As soon as you click on this download button, you should make sure you go for the community version and then click on this download button. It will download the IntelliJ for you. Then go to the browser and type Java 8 download. And then click on this link, first link, and in here look for your operating system. If you are using Mac, go for this, click here. If you are using Linux, you can download one of these. If you are using Windows like me, go ahead and download this Windows 64. Click here on the exe file, it will download. Once you have downloaded the exe file, you first install, just double click on the Java exe file first and just go through the normal installation process by clicking next, finish, and then it will install the JDK for you. Similarly, once you have installed the JDK, go ahead and then click on the exe file which you had downloaded for IntelliJ, the community version, and then you go ahead and click next, finish, and then on your computer search for IntelliJ. You will see this and then open this. If you are opening for the first time, it will ask you to open a project or create a project. So you can click on create a project and then create a new Java project. Because I'm not opening for the first time, it is going to open my project right away. Otherwise, you can also right click or you can just click on this file and choose here new. Click on the new, wait for it, it does some processing. And click on new and then click on project. And then you choose select a new Java project. Automatically all the Java installations or JDK installed in your computer, like I have Java 1.8 and Java 1.11, which is Java 11 installed, will come here. So select Java 1.8 and then select on Java. You don't have to select any other thing and click on next. Click on this checkbox command line and then it will create a simple Java application with the main method for you. Click on next and then you can choose here any project. So let's say my Java 8 project. Copy this, whichever folder you want to paste it here. And then once you go ahead, you click on finish, it will create the project for you. And after that, you can start creating your packages inside that and start creating your Java programs and start writing your Java code. So this is how you can do the environment setup.
Today we are going to start with the Java 8. So far whatever we have learned was up to Java 7, and Java 8 introduced quite a new features. So, and learning Java 8 is also very important because it helps us do the same thing but in very few lines of code. So we are going to do this completely hands-on based, the Java 8 complete all the concepts we are going to learn by doing hands-on. So let's see what are the new features introduced in Java 8. So this is my plain normal Java project, and I've created a notes.txt file to take up notes. So let's say features in Java 8, the features that was introduced in Java 8. So first feature was enhancement that was made to the interface. So interface enhancements. Yeah. The second feature we introduced was functional interface. Functional interface. We're going to look at what they are one by one. Third was lambda expression. Lambda expression. Fourth was stream API. And fifth was a whole new date and time API, because it was not that easy to manipulate date and time in Java 7. So Java 8 introduced a completely new set of date time classes to do the manipulation of date and time easily. So we are going to look at each of these topics in detail. Okay, let's start. So I will go ahead and first create a package. So let me create a package here. I will say interface enhancement. I'll create the package like this. And then now we will learn what are the new things that was introduced in part of the interface enhancement. So let's go ahead, write down this one, some notes about this. So in the interface enhancement, the first thing that was done was default method were introduced. Default method were introduced. Second, static method were also introduced. So introduction of default method and introduction of static method. We will see them what they are, but these were the two things that were done. So now let's go ahead and create some classes to see what they are. So let's go ahead and first see how we used to have a Java 7 interface. So let's say an interface in Java 7. So I will say a vehicle is an interface. Well, is an interface, and let's say in Java 7. So I will say vehicle Java 7 interface. So let me create that interface. So this is an interface. So what we used to have? Let's say we used to have a method. Let's say I will say void details was one method, let's say, and then I will say a property as a string color. So by default, what was the situation here? We had to basically initialize it. So I will say red. So by default, what is in Java 7? This method is public abstract. Whether you say or not, by default the method becomes public and abstract. And same for the variable also we had certain conditions. So by default the variables become public, static, and final. So this was in Java 7. By the way, we are using Java 8 in our project structure. If you go, you can see it's Java 8, but it doesn't mean that you cannot use Java 7 syntax. Everything is fine. I mean, Java 8 is backward compatible to Java 7, so we can use that. So what we used to know, our method by default become public and abstract. And our variables become public, static, final. By default, we don't have to do anything. This was Java 7. Now let's go ahead and create an interface, how it looks in the Java 8. So let me go ahead and create the same interface but with Java 8. So class vehicle Java 8. So I will say interface. Here, if I create the same method here, like void details, and I try to give let's say I want to try to give a body to it, it will start complaining. But Java 8 has a new type of method, introduce a new type of method called default. As soon as I put this default, then I can have a method with body inside the interface where I can write some code. So I can say system.out.println I am Java 8 default method. And this default methods by default is available to all the implementing classes. By default gets available to all implementing classes. So if you see, it's not a public abstract method, rather it is a default method which we can have body. Now let's go ahead and create a class. Let's say class name is car, and this car class can now implement the vehicle interface. If you see now, this car class is not complaining that you need to implement this interface. You might have seen that in many a times we basically, whenever we have an interface, here let's say I make it as interface Java 7, as soon as I do, it will complain that you have unimplemented methods in this interface. So the class car should give some implementation to it. Only then this will go away. If I do this, then the error disappears. But what if I have a requirement that I don't want to implement it in my child class, but still I want to have a method which should have some logic inside it. So that's where the default method helps. And as said, default method gets automatically available inside the class who is implementing the interface. So let's create public. Let me create here public static void main. I can create the main method here itself to test it. Void main, and I will say string. Let's say string array a And inside that, what I will do, I will just create the object of this car class. Inside it, car is equal to new car. And now I can directly call the car details here. So I haven't given any implementation in this class, car class, for this method details, but still I am able to use that directly. I can call it directly. So let's run it. See, similarly, if I create another class here, let's say bus, and the bus also implements this vehicle Java 8, then also bus will be able to utilize that functionality of details without giving any implementation. So now you must be wondering, what was the use of introducing this default method? So let's understand. So for that to understand, let's do one thing. I will create another class here. Let's say I will create the class as bus, and then I will say bus is a class, and this will also implements Java vehicle Java 8. So now, and bus has a, let's say, method void show, and then let's say here it can use the bus p is equal to new bus. By default, if you see it, the details is available here, but we can say b dot details. Okay, now it's good. Let's say I have done this functionality and I have two classes which is implementing this interface. So if, let's say, if it was Java 7, so I could say 7 here. It will not, here it will say I have to implement it. Okay, let me implement it. Let's say it is there. Good. Here also in the car, let's say I have Java 7, which is good. And now it will say, okay, you have to implement it. That is fine. Now let's say there are similarly 10 Java classes implementing this Java 7 interface. And now if I need to introduce a new feature, then what I have to do? I have to go into the Java interface. Let's say I have to introduce a new feature called void mileage. As soon as I do this, what will happen? It will force my Java class to also implement that functionality, but I don't want to implement here also. So if I have 10 classes, all the 10 classes will be forced to implement that functionality. If I have 100 classes, then I have to go and change each and every other class. So for the backward compatibility, this default method is very useful. So if I change this to Java 7 or Java, another one Java 8, and I don't need this, let's say, yeah, and I also make this as Java 8. So if you see here, let's say here we had a method void mileage, which is a public abstract. So the car would have implemented it. Great. And bus would have implemented it. So this is nothing new. This is like Java 7 only. Let for now they comment this. Comment this. Okay, great. Now if I wanted to introduce a new feature in my interface, or let's say in my classes, I want to introduce a new feature in my classes without changing the class. I don't have to touch the class. So that's where the power of default methods come. If I introduce a default method here, I can introduce a new functionality in all my classes. See here and here also. I can use it right away without changing the class. If any class wants to use it, this new functionality, they will use it like this. But if this class, let's say, doesn't want to use it, you don't have to touch this class. So that's the power of Java 8 default method. This default method supports backward compatibility. If there is a project with already lot of Java classes who is implementing an interface, and in that project you want to go and suddenly introduce a new functionality without changing any Java class, that's where this feature is helpful. Default method. It's for backward compatibility. And what you have to do, just put default keyword in front of your method. Let's say if I put default here. See, I can make another default method also here. So this is also great. You can have as many as default methods in your interface and introduce new functionalities without changing your classes. So if I say mileage, see, great. And if I don't want to use it in bus, I will not use it. So so default methods, you can have many default methods, helps to support backward compatibility. Okay, let's start with the next topic, which is static method in Java 8 or in the interfaces. But before that, let me little bit organize our package. So I will create a package here, default, and I will move these classes inside the default. Just hold and you can drag and put it there. Let me at least create another package here called static, so that for static method we can create things here in the static. Let's see if there's any move option. Where is it? Copy this and control C, control V. So is it? Let's see. So default cannot be okay. So let's rename it. Maybe it's a keyword, so it's not allowing default method. Let's say default method. And same goes for static, because static and default are keywords in Java, so it did not allow us to basically create a package with that name. So I will say default and static method. Okay. Now if I click by pressing Control and drag them and put it here, so it allows. So we have the default related things here now. For the static, let's start what is a static method. So for that, I will go ahead and create interface first. So let me create that Java. Let's say static method demo. Let me put it this way, and then I will create this interface. Now this is an interface, great. And now I want to declare a static method. So it's very simple. I can say public static void in and let's say show. So here I will say system.out.println, system.out.println. I can say I am a Java 8 static method. Great. One thing to note here is that static method does not become directly available in the implementing classes. So let's write that static method do not get available in implementing classes, implementing class. But this was the case in case of what we saw in case of default method. By default, there was the static method was getting available. Can we have two static methods? Let's see. If I change the name here, static 2. Yes, we can have two static method, or more than that. When I say two, more than one static method can be present in an interface. Same was more than one default methods can be present in the interface. So that's good. But the default method was readily available inside. You were able to access the default method with the help of the, let's say this was the class who was implementing this interface. So by default, you were able to access the default method. Let's try to see if we are able to access this. So let me create a package. I will say static method demo class. Let's put it this way. And this class will basically say implements static method demo. You see now it is, as soon as we said static method demo, still it did not complain for us to add the implementation, because it acts same way as the default method. It helps in backward compatibility, which means you can add a functionality. But let me add here, I will say, let's say public static void main, and in here if I say, let's say string, and then I will say, let's say array. And now let's try to see if the implementing class obj equal to new obj, like default method was accessible with the help of the implementing class object. Let's check if we have access to the static method. So you see the static method does not get inherited or does not get available. I am not able to access show and show to. That's what it means. Static method do not get available in the implementing classes. So it's not available here. But we can access the static method directly with the name of the interface. So if I say static method dot show, it's there. So if I run this, it works as a normal program flow, which means we don't even have to create any object to use it. But now there should be a question in your mind: can we then have this void main, which is also a static method, part of an interface? Let's try it out. All right, so let's write a little bit of comments here. So static method can be called by the name of the interface. So we are calling with the name of the interface. So now, of course, we can ask the question, can the main method be made part of the interface now, because it's also a static method? Before going there, let's first write some notes in our notes here about static methods. So here, if I say point 1, So here let me write some notes for the default method also. We can copy it from here. Okay, not from here, from here. All right, not from here also. So let's write it down. So we can say default method is made available inside the implementing class. Number one. Number two, there can be more than one default method in interface. Third, default method helps in bringing backward compatibility. Okay, now let's do the same points here. So for the static method here, if we say so default static method is not available in the implementing class. There can be more than one static method in the interface. Static method also helps in bringing backward compatibility. And then let's write down another point. We as the static method is not available inside the implementing class, so we cannot override static method, which means if there is a method inside the child class, it will be the child class method. It is not the method which is overridden by the. It is not the overridden method of the interface. Rather, it's a pure simple method of the class. So if I say here, let's say there is a method here show static. Let me copy exactly the same method. Copy and then I will paste it here. I will say I am a Java 8. I am a normal method of this class. Okay, let me print it out, this class. So of this class. Let's this class, when I say, let me print the name. So you can basically print the name like this. So you can say this dot get class. Yeah, so you can say get class, so it will print the name of the class. But I can also print the name directly. Static context. Okay, it is not allowed in the static context. That's fine. So instead of this, we will hard code the direct name because it's not allowing me to have it because this is a static method. Oh wait, we don't have to have it as a static method. But how we will show the overriding? So I will paste it for now. So static method, if I created another exactly same method show here, and now if I call the show method with the object, so it will basically call the show method of the object show. Let's put it here. And if I now say new or this class, and then I will say show, this is the method. So now run it and see This will be a totally separate method of this class, and the static method of show of the top one interface is a completely different method. This one, that's why you see two different output. You see, so that means that the static method cannot be part of the implementing class, and it cannot be overridden also. Okay, so now let's close all this. Let's now come back to our question. Can we have a main method inside an interface? Yes. So let's put it there. Java 8 onwards, main method can be part of interface due to the concept of static method. Part of interface. Let's see that. So let me create an interface. Main interface. Let me put it that way. So this is the main interface. I will say put it that way. And now I will do nothing. I will just say public static, like any other static method, void. I will create the main method. And now if I run here, system.out.println, main method can run without class from Java 8 onwards. See, now what we will do, I will not create any class. This is an interface. Interesting, right? And in that interface, I have this main method, and I'm going to run only this interface. It will execute. We don't have to create a class anymore. See, so that's the power of static method.